3rd, 2017.
It's right there on the top, sir.
It is, it is. Hey, my mother's 90th birthday now, so. Right there. Okay, first of all, we have for discussion this evening, a resolution to talk about a resolution for the Master Federal Aid Project for Supplemental Agreement Number 2 for the North Avenue Connector Project. And I'm going to say that all of us have looked at what came through the email from Jake, but I'd like, Jake, you to kind of run through this with us again. And tell us a little bit more about this.
That's right. Well, the resolution's not in there, but this basically, if you recall, the North Avenue project that is a federal project, kind of comes in phases. There was scoping, design, right-of-way acquisition, right-of-way incidentals, and then construction and construction inspection. This authorizes the final 2 phases of construction inspection. Unfortunately, without Don here, I don't know exactly how we satisfy the requirements of a public meeting and discuss what the maximum amount we want to have available for construction is prior to actually going out to bid for it. But at some point, we have to know what our maximum amount's going to be, because we have to announce that at the bid opening before the bids are open. But it seems kind of counterproductive to announce what your highest amount's going to be, because if I was in the construction business, I guess I'd probably put over
Probably
this.
be looking at YouTube and,
Yeah. So I don't know exactly how we do that, and that's something I thought Don was gonna be here. But maybe that's something we can I can try to do some legwork between now and the 12th and see how we go about that. It almost seems like a matter of negotiation. That would be something that you could do. I guess you're not negotiating with a single entity though, but you're setting the price for something or setting the value on something that it seems like it'd be something that you could enter into executive session for, because it'd be foolish not to, I would think.
I think it would, I think that would provide, probably would fall under that executive session, because it would maybe give an advantage in terms of a contractual thing, what we're doing in terms of establishing a contract. At some point in the future, you're establishing a maximum or a line for it. You're right, that is a Don question. So, at any rate, I think what you're looking at is that we've had several changes from the original amount that was, I guess, given by ourselves, and what we were looking to get from the federal grant, and what we have available and what we were willing to pay as a village, and what we were looking for, what initially they provided us with in terms of what they were going to do on North Avenue, and how that has now changed.
It has about...
We've seen that evolution to the point where now it's rather significant. We made alternates, alternate 1 and alternate 2, to try to stay within a reasonable amount, and that has actually gone up as well, right? So
Yes.
I think we have to, you're right, we have to make some decision as to what it is that we're willing to hit as a ceiling.
And one of the things, I even talked to some of the design folks today, and one of the biggest part of the project's going down because it's a North Avenue connector project. It's a pedestrian safety conductivity, connecting the north and then the south side of the expressway together. One of the elements that we talked about from the very beginning is wayfinding, and that has seemed to have dropped off the radar. So I want to check back on some of my notes, but I talked to them a little bit today about that, and maybe a minor adjustment in the lights. But also one of the big items in there is they've got exposed aggregate concrete in some of the areas as one of the, I believe it was in the median, I know there was a discussion, originally we had talked about that going along the edge of the sidewalk, where they went from 5 feet to 7 feet. That extra 2 feet was gonna be the exposed aggregate, and then we saw how much it was, and we said, that's not really that important, we'd rather do other things. But somehow that snuck back in between June and August, so. We just got the construction things today. Apparently they had sent them over at some other time, but it was a pretty big file, so I don't know if it got involved. The guy asked me last week, or it was earlier this week, no, it was last week, said, you know, hey, has the attorney got a chance to, or I don't know where he said, did the attorney get a chance to review it, the document? I'm like, what document? And so he got back to me, he's like, oh, the construction, the bid document. I never saw it. So he attached it, and I'm like, man, I never saw this thing, so now now we've got it, it's a small, it's 395 pages. But back to the point about the budget, originally it's a $1,054,000 total estimated budget. That was in 2014, so there is increases for everything. So even at if there was 10% over the 3-year period, you're talking probably about 1.1 million, which is close. The original, and the thing that can't change, is $811,580 that's coming from the federal government towards this project. Now, if we go, and it could be a maximum of 80% of a project. So at that 1.54, $1,054,000, it was actually, when Matt put together the grant agreement, it was a 77-23% mix rather than an 80-20, to kind of make it a little more attractive, that we put a little bit more into it. The village is going to be on the hook for $242,420, and then out of that, 175 was coming from the North Ave and the incentive zoning. So we were really looking at out-of-pocket expenses for the village of 67,000. With this last iteration of what the project is and the estimates, it gives us up a total, rather than 242, the total is about 406. So take that 175 off, it still leaves us about 165 more, 165 more than the 67 that we were originally talking about. I know before we were talking about 120, and then we were talking 120 over, which would have been about $70,000 more.
Yeah.
This is almost, so we've still got to sort some things out with the design folks, and just make sure we're all on the same page, one last look, and make sure what's what. Obviously, there's updates, every indication between when they gave it to us in June and when they gave it to us in August. The local project liaison from the DOT sent over some information about, hey, here's an updated cost for this, instead of $80 a yard, make it 60. Here's an updated, because I'm looking at Perry, what they did. Here's, do this, you can change these. And he was dropping a few prices. We looked at the lights, we eliminated 16 of the 46, or 15, I think, ultimately, they put one back in. But 15 of the 46 lights, we ended up with 31, should have been a huge decrease. Lady went from 275 to 321. So, there's things that we've got to get with them and make sure that our pencils are sharp, and ultimately, they're the best guesses. When the rubber meets the road is going to be when it's in the hands of some contractors that are bidding on it, and they come back. And I think, by nature, I think sometimes the engineers try to go conservative, aim a little high, so then when they come back lower, everybody's happy with them, because, hey, it's way better, you're in a way better mood. When you see that it came in at 875 instead of, 990, so, but that's a big swing too. And everybody else can read the books and see what things are going for. As those you can just type, online and get where the individual line items are. So, yeah, I think the question on that is with Don and where, how do we discuss it? And then in the meantime, I'm meeting Thursday with one of the guys from Blue Engineers down there to talk about the sidewalks, talk about some drain inlets down there, and then the sidewalks near where it's crossing the project. And then want to get with them on some of the other items there. So,
are you going to have any more meetings as a group?
I talked to Matt Sheffield about getting together, doing good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
And I said he would be bad. He's way meaner than I am. So, yeah, you kind of go
But
over
seriously,
it.
I think.
Yeah. No, I'm just trying to.
I can't get over how much higher.
And it is, I think, there's some of it's a function of, it was 4 years ago or 3 years ago.
I understand
And
that.
some of it's, I think a function of, all right, they're gonna estimate, they're gonna do it a little bit high. But how certain things changed, and I don't know if things fell under, or fell through the cracks before, and now they, all right, here's our final version, let's make sure we have everything, and oops, we forgot that. But how things go from, exposed aggregate concrete is a big one in my mind. It went from $50 a yard to $150 a yard, went from like 376 to 270, so we jumped up. It was gone and it was in, now it was in another line, and now it's back up, but it's 3 times as much for less. So I just want to make sure,
Yeah, we need an understanding.
Yeah, and I want to be able to make sure I can articulate, say, hey, ideally, here's what's going to look like when we get done. I'm very visual, so I'd rather have a big set of plans in here, say, here's what we're doing, and here it is, and have it look like the picture when they get done.
Right.
But have an understanding, because some of the things are, we've got the plans, but some of the things, especially the median, some of the option things are, I think there's interpretation issues somewhere, so.
Definitely need to get back together with them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing to me when they came in here and said, well, what they showed us in terms of the pavilion, what's going in down there in the corner, what they had designed and put there, so yeah, that looks good, we like that, and then come back and say, well, that was a concept, but we can't do that, we have to go to off-the-shelf stuff. Well, no, that's what you presented to us,
And
So we need to know.
Yeah, and they're
What are they
back to custom on that.
Yes.
But that requires then, because it's a state or federal aid project, you can't say, hey, build a pavilion with these, here's the drawings, here's where these bolts are, spec out the bolts, have a specific line item for that, or an item number. Pay items, they gotta have everything by pay items, and it's a serious disconnect between the federal government and common sense. I'm thoroughly convinced that it's amazing. It is remarkable how they make a project out of everything.
That's too bad.
If they were in charge of shoveling the snow, I'm pretty sure it'd be melted before they figured out how they wanted to do it and how to document what they did do, because they were too busy documenting other stuff.
Okay, so in light of that, you need to know that at some point between now and November 1st, is that correct? So that when this notice to bidders goes out, that maximum is there?
No, when the notice to bidders goes out, and I'm glad you brought November, they hit the 20th, it's November 21st is actually a Tuesday is when the bid opening is going to be. Basically, we have to know before then. And with this master federal aid agreement and with the numbers that I had in the resolution, and I didn't get the resolution with me, but with that, the numbers that I had in there were, I talked to Craig, who took over, Craig Ekstrom, I think it is, Ekstrom, took over for Steve Beauvais at the DOT. He said that's, you put in worst case scenario, that doesn't bind you to anything. But we've also got timeframes when we'd have to modify, if there's changes, we have to modify the bond resolution, because that gave an approximate total cost. I don't know what the threshold is. I put the bond, the folks from Bernie Donigan's office there said, if you change the total cost, you gotta update the bond resolution. I thought, why do you use the word approximate then? Because there's got to be some leeway in it, but I think that was too much of a change. So we'd have to know what that number is, update the bond resolution too. And again, that's a total, when I wrote the resolution, because it updated the previous and superseded the previous resolutions, I just kind of kept throwing the numbers there for the entire project rather than just its particular phases. So we said that's kind of a worst case scenario, but again, it doesn't bind anything, so. But I'd rather get it as close as we could.
So what do you need for this notice the bidders?
The notice bidders, I just wanted to, see
Make
if
us
it-
aware that it's going out the 1st?
you'll have to,
The opening will be the 21st?
yes, you'll have to vote either on the 12th or the 26th at the very latest, because it can still make it in the paper the next day. But just, vote on the legal notice, and then it would, it would go into the paper that 26th. I'd almost, if we could put it on for the 12th, I'd rather get it,
We can do that.
I'd rather, even if we don't put it in until the following week, I'd rather have it in a little early, because then if they goof
That
up,
was the day of the 12th or whatever.
yeah, if they goof up and it doesn't make it in by the 1st, we're in trouble. So I'd rather have it in whatever the week before the 1st is, or, I guess that'd be, what, the 25th, the paper comes out, I think? Yeah, Wednesday.
So Josette, make sure that's on the agenda, thank you.
Yes.
Hey Jake, did you bring any extra pens?
I always have, actually.
It's what I'm supposed to do.
All right.
That's my
And
diary.
that discussion on the amount of cost of this project. Who brought up again? Okay, item number 3 is something that we just received in the mail after working with the union and going over a lot of this, agreeing to a new health plan for them. No longer will exist in 2018. So, if you've not looked at these, you need to look at them. We will have to make a decision in time for open enrollment, I believe. And open enrollment, it's for different, could be at different times. Joe brought up that maybe some policies, their open enrollment might be in November. I don't know how early. Anybody know what the earliest is in terms of open enrollment?
It's dependent on the employer. For my husband, it's with the CWA union, and they have to have a decision by mid-November. I don't know the exact date, but every organization could be different.
Do you know?
Ours, I think it's December 1st here.
Yeah, it
Is it, that's what I'm
Later.
asking.
is, later than November.
But if
December
somebody
1st?
needed to make a change off of ours onto
Yeah.
somebody else's,
Right.
they may need to know by
Sooner.
mid-November, yeah.
So this is something that will need to be finalized, I think, early November.
Yeah.
And that means that we're going to have a discussion again with the union, I believe. So that will be something that we're going to have to set up with their rep, with John. I believe all of this went to
Yes, it
Mr.
did.
Carnavelli.
Yeah, I was supposed to be here tonight.
You guys can take a look at it and see, what, I think there's a recommendation as to what is close. They're in the Simply Blue Plus Gold 9 plan and the Simply Plus Blue Plus Gold 6. And it's relatively close. Pardon?
They got rid of one,
They
They
got,
just got rid of the one that
We
they went
had.
to.
that we had, right?
Yeah,
We did,
this Gold Plus 9
yeah.
will no longer be offered. So the one that is, I believe, closest is here, the Blue Plus Gold 6. But then there are others that you can see. There is a Plus Silver 2, there's a Plus Silver 4, Plus Gold 20. And this is probably just a few of them, I believe, that then there's MVP. think that it's important that we all take a look at those, and that, Jake, we set up a time that would be convenient prior to, I don't know, maybe it's that first, maybe it's the workshop
Yeah.
that we sit together with them, or we can set it up as we did before. We can go into executive session with them. It's going to have to do with contract. And we sit, hash it out.
I feel like we just finished this.
But then a final decision can be made, and I think that first meeting in November would be adequate for anybody to decide on making a change in their plans or not. So that would be my timeline, that first, I don't know what the date is on that, in November, but we would have a decision at that point.
If I remember right, we had to change the November workshop. And I think it was going to end up having to be on Halloween. So that it was kind of a,
It was up in the air as to
Up in
whether
the
to
air.
have it or not?
yeah, or if you chose a different day.
That's okay. We have to have a vote on it.
Right, but if you wanted a workshop type discussion.
I'll be trick-or-treating that day.
Actually, we could do that anytime. We could do
Right.
that like on a
Yeah.
Wednesday,
Yeah.
prior to, that day or Tuesday, as long as we're not doing it on, I don't think anybody wants to do it necessarily. Although that's what, the 31st? We could come back, on a Wednesday, which would be the 1st. We could do that.
Yeah, that's election day.
No, it's not. The 1st.
Oh, no, the 7th.
Um,
You're saying Wednesday the 1st?
I have a fire council meeting that day.
Okay, that's not good.
Oh, that's good.
That's good. You could do it the, I think our vote is what? Our vote is, our meeting will be on the 9th.
The 9th, and then the next one we were going to have on the 21st.
Right. So actually, I would think you can't, Kate, you're not gonna do it. Yeah, I see the Webster emergency, that's the 1st. 2nd or 3rd would be okay with me, even the following week,
Yeah.
on a Monday. I mean, it's not like,
Yeah.
we're gonna go into executive session, it's not gonna be an open meeting for that, so we'll open the meeting, go into negotiations with them and have a discussion.
Is the 6th, is it good for everybody?
So, I don't know, he's gotta come up with something.
I don't know.
Yeah,
The
it's-
union, we got to contact the union.
Yeah, let's see, maybe they can,
Yeah.
maybe they'll say, yeah, we looked at the plan and that's as close as we can get it.
That'd be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
so try for the 6th. Yeah, it is.
Would the 6th be good, everybody?
What time?
Well, we don't know yet.
I don't know.
You do it early. You wanna do it early?
No, I know I'm gonna be in Mondays, for a project start, so I may be late, but let's get started on.
Do it second.
Okay,
Okay.
don't walk around me, I'll get there on the.
6 at 7.
I mean, I don't think we're gonna go round and round with them on it.
I wouldn't think so.
No, but,
It only took 2 years.
Usually it's a problem with the rest of the members. But is he on all of these?
What happened?
we haven't had a discussion.
Yeah, we'll sit and.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Because of the
Thanks. Yeah, nice to
Put that
for my girlfriend, please.
that, and then a change in this, in our wording of what family is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so, Jake, let's see if we can get a couple of dates from them, one being the 6th, maybe preferable. And we can then sit down and have a discussion with them. If they have the plans and they're looking at them, we have a plan, we're looking at it, sit down, have a discussion, hash it out, and come up with something, and then we can vote on that at the first meeting.
Okay.
And that would be adequate, I would think, for everybody to take back for plans that are maybe spousal plans that are involved somewhere else.
You know, reach out to John, well, probably through John and Robbie, it's their new rep, so.
Okay.
Did you say the 6th is one of them? One of the
Yes.
dates?
That's what he's going to type.
Or we could work around anything.
No.
Prior to
It's-
that, too.
We'll make it happen. Thank you.
And maybe it will be out of place in another year. Seems to be doing that now all the time. The one that you emailed out to us, Jake, that I asked you to condense a little bit so that it fit onto a page. In that, it talks about the HSA. Is there something that is, I see a negative, you know, minus 100, 200, 200, and then add HSA 350.
The agreement with the union included the, because there was a swing in the HSA amount, so it says it'll be the deductible, equal to the deductible amount, it's easy for me to say, plus for single plans, there'd be an additional $350 added to the HSA, and for subscriber and spouse, subscriber and children and family plans, there'd be $700 additional added, deposited into the HSA. So with the deductible amount itself went down, so I think it says, you know, you basically match the deductible, and then before you add those additional amounts on. So, that's why, you know, I try to maintain what that was, and there's a record of it.
So the end result would be for the end there, that percent change, 2%, 2%, 1.7, and 2.6.
Yeah, and I guess I should have included the decimal points when it's not exact. The difference, I think, hopefully I tried to explain it there, that, you know, with there are years in the health insurance year, it's not lining up. Yeah, it's half,
Half one
and
and half the other.
but I think it might have spent more money figuring it out exactly than it would cost.
So we will wait for you to come up with a date, talking with the rep, and we'll get together with them, go over the plans, come up with a plan.
All right.
Sound good? Finally, we have a letter of intent, which I would like to have voted on so that they can move forward, but he can talk to you about it. This is about a little machine that I saw dropped off and being tested. They wouldn't let me drive it. Maybe I can ride the test.
In the parade.
But it looks like a pretty good deal. It involves a trade of the Bobcat. Bobcat was purchased for $21,000. How many years ago? 7?
Yeah, I thought it was 2012, it was 11 that we actually did that, so.
And it looks like they're going to allow $17,000 for it. Also, allowance for the snow thrower that goes with it, right?
Yes.
And it looks like that in turn then creates a wash with the new dual auger snow thrower, which is a big step up from what they have now. And the V plow for the front, so it's pretty much a wash out there. So basically, the cost of the whacker, what's it called?
Yes.
So you want to talk a little bit more about it and what it can do for us? Not too much, but a little. We don't have a license to just go.
Yeah, it's a mini articulating loader. It's a little mini wheel loader, basically, that fits on our sidewalks. Arundequoit has 6 of them, or 5 of them, 4 of them, that they utilize. We went out and talked to them. They brought it down to our STP, ran it in some snow that we had there that was dumped and melted and froze again and was compacted. Clancy said even I could have walked on top of it. I wasn't there that day. And that thing just chewed right through it.
Solid ice,
Yeah.
and it didn't even
Good.
hesitate. Talked to the guys in Arundequoit, they said we're gonna love them. You know, you can use them all year round, get fork attachments, it's got the bucket, a broom, a mower, you name it. I don't know how long a mower would be, but I think we looked at probably about 8 other machines throughout the winter, and that was the best. Had power, maneuverability, and I don't know, I think for the price, you can't beat it.
So it would have a greater usage than the current Bobcat.
The idea with that,
It's, access-
no, I'm sorry, the idea with that Bobcat is, again, you can use it year round, but to have it that small to be able to fit on the sidewalks, you lose some of the abilities and some of the things that the other, like that Bobcat, that line of products can do, because you got the little kid brother of all of them. So,
Yeah, we'll be getting narrow tires for the winter, so it'll fit on the sidewalk, and then come with the standard, regular sized tires, so we can use it out in the field for road projects and everything. You can get, I believe they have a stump grinding attachment for it. You can rent through Edmar, a lot cheaper than buying a stump grinder. I think a stump grinder is like $6,000. You can rent it for, I think it was like $250 for the day, so we can get like 8 stumps and just bang out in a day.
it currently costs us about 220, I think. 220 to do each stump?
168.
Oh, yes, they dropped it, it was 215 before. So, yeah, so it's almost $200 to do one stump.
Yeah.
But we can rent a grinder for 250, get a lot of them done.
All right.
I wouldn't like to ride on it, Dave.
The letter of intent was so that they can begin to order the plow. I didn't want to vote on it because it is an expenditure, but it make you aware, if you look at the last page, what you have. We have in the unassigned fund balance, we have a little over $1 million, which is about 50% of our current budget. And it was felt that in terms of taking this out of funds in the equipment reserve, it was probably better to bring down the unassigned fund balance ratio.
Right.
We'll bring it down to about 47%, I believe, by buying it directly out of the unassigned fund balance, as opposed to going through the equipment reserve. It also, I certainly wouldn't want to do anything other than buying it outright, paying anything more than we need to for it. But I think on the recommendation of these guys here, in terms of what it can do and in comparison to the Bobcat, it seems like it's a good deal actually in terms of what they were offering us for the Bobcat. So I would,
I'd have to get 3 bids either.
Pardon?
You don't have to get 3 bids either.
Right, we're piggybacking right off of Cheektowaga, so
That's good.
it's something to go right way.
Yes, and I did include that one page of Cheektowagas because there's so many times, I mean, you guys from Admar are really good, but sometimes you get salesmen will come in and, oh yeah, we're on bid, and we piggyback, and they're very particular about what has to be in there, so I checked, and that, you know, that's why I circled that language down there, it was on there, and found their Town of Cheektowaga website where I looked at the resolution and stuff, so it was included.
Then I would just ask for a voice approval to allow Jake to begin the purchase process here for the, at least the ordering, if you will. And then at the 12th meeting, we'll put it on for approval to purchase it.
Okay.
Is that okay? Would you guys?
Yep.
All right. Then can I have a voice approval for this letter of intent so that Jake can begin moving forward with the ordering of the snow blower? I believe it's a snow blower, right?
I'll second.
We need-
Well, yeah, it's the unit with the V-plow and the snow blower on it, but yeah, that's the long lead time item is the snow blower.
Like that motion, sir.
Yeah.
Need that motion? Okay, your second?
Yep.
All right.
Trustee Alito,
Aye.
trustee Belkane, trustee Lauer,
Aye.
trustee Lancy,
Aye.
Mayor Byers,
Aye.
motion passes.
All right. So begin moving forward with that, and we'll have the resolution to approve the expenditure in the 12th.
Okay, thank you.
All right, now, we are coming up into November soon, in a month, but it's coming quickly. And RG&E did put in there that the timeline of 180 days. I think we probably could extend it, but it's been a while since we had a discussion on the light, purchase of lights in the village. It seems to me, as I have talked with a number of officials, mayors, that this is something that is being done, something that they recommend for us to do if we have the opportunity to do it. And I believe that with the possible changes to LED, our cost savings will be significant. I'm going to maybe allow Tim to kind of give us a little bit more in terms of that. If you haven't noticed, Jake did mention at the last meeting, the light that is in the middle of Fuller. And I'm going to drive by it, and I don't like it personally, but
I did drive
just,
by it, not too.
just as a personal opinion, I think that it is not something that I would like to see in the village. I think it's too stark, the whiteness of it. And if that was all the way down the street, it would be like driving on Main Street. And I think village residential areas are different, and I do not want to see that, but apparently it can be changed. And so I'm just letting you
Yes.
know my opinion of it. Obviously LED, but there are different, types
Well,
of.
they talked about having different colors.
Yeah, just because it's LED, there's still
Toned
different.
down, instead of that,
Different brightness, to
Yeah.
work through.
I like that yellowy,
What
orangey.
is temperature? Does it have to do with
Low,
the temperature
yeah.
of them? I don't know.
I want more yellow than orange.
The one on Fuller is a 22 watt, 5,000 K, so that's that brighter white.
Yeah.
This morning we put up 3 more tests. We have on, well, I changed the one on Fuller to a 54 watt, which is very,
54 watt?
yeah, which is very bright. I'm sure that one's not gonna pass. Dunning is a 36 watt, which is a little brighter than what you saw on Fuller. The one that was on Fuller is 22 watt, we put that over on Park. So we have like 3 tests all in the same area, so we can kind of see what kind of brightness we like.
When
For
did you say
lumens, it
Fuller?
is.
What was that?
Did you see Fuller today, or was it on the way over tonight, or was it?
Yesterday.
It was before, so it was on
Sunday
the
night.
Yeah, it was
22 watt.
yesterday.
That's right, I'm sorry.
And then I put 136 watt on Main Street in front of the music store. So we can kind of see the business aspect of it. So maybe if we did the 5,000K in the business, the local lighting store only carries the 5,000K, which is your white light. I
Yeah.
can see if I can get my hands on a 3,000, which is more of a yellower, and then there's a 4,000, so maybe I'll get one of each.
Yeah,
But for right now, we can see what we like for brightness. If everyone likes the one on Dunning, that's the 36 watt, which is equivalent to 150 watt. The 22 that's on Park is 22 watt, it's equivalent to 100 watt. What we have out there right now is 100 watt high pressure sodiums. So, guess we'll just see right now for lumens and brightness what we like, and then I can get different color temperature bulbs. I couldn't find it, everybody carries the 5,000K, the white.
yeah, I like the duller.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
we don't need to
I'll work
really-
on that, finding those lights tomorrow. And then, we can put those up, and I'll email everybody when they're out. so
Yeah, I
you
was
can
just
see.
gonna say emails when you get them and you put them out.
Yeah, so let me know which brightness you like, how bright. The 22 watt that was originally on Fuller you saw, like, my dad said he saw it, and he said it could be a little brighter, so.
So that's why you put the 54
That's why I
across
put
from
the
his
54
house.
across from the house. So.
Well,
see.
maybe like Main Street brighter, but then the sides
Yep, I agree.
brighter and the
I
yellower.
think Main Street with the business, the white
Yeah.
lights more security, so maybe we did like the 5,000K on Main Street, but instead of residential, maybe go with a 3,000K. I wouldn't go any less than 3,000. You can get down to like 2,200 or 2,700, and that's gonna be a very, very yellow light, like what we have now. So the 3,000 will be like what we have now, but just a little whiter to it.
More towards yellow than orange.
Yeah.
So I didn't know anything.
See, I like
A
that.
couple months ago, I knew nothing about LEDs, and Clancy knows everything about them. So, there's the
Yeah.
intensity of the light's not gonna change if the watt's the same, right?
Right,
So
so there's
breaking
two
it.
things to look at, you got your lumens, and then you've got your color temperature.
Yeah,
So right now out there would be the test for what kind of lumens you like, how bright and how wide the spread is, and then we can work on, I'll get color.
what was the one in front of the bookstore?
That was a 36K,
Yeah, okay, it is, yes.
or 36 watt, which is
Yeah.
equivalent to 150 watt high pressure sodium.
Bless you.
With the 200 watt on Elm Street, try that.
Get a suntan.
Seriously.
Joe's been Florida enough, he doesn't need any more.
So that's what we got for the colonial black decorative poles. You asked me to get prices for a ballpark of what it'd be like for the Cobra heads.
Yeah,
Talked to a guy that I met at NICOM a couple years ago, George Woodbury. He's a lighting consultant down in North Carolina. He got some prices from him. And the standard Cobra head like we have everywhere from 100 watt to 400. We have one 400 watt on North Ave, which is a lot of power, but, I asked him, well, just ballpark, so you guys had some numbers. Obviously, you'd have to come in and do an audit and everything of what we have. But he says he can typically change a Cobra head for $136 is for the fixture, the retrofit. $18 for the photo cell. $26 for the fuse, the disconnect that RG&E requires,
yeah.
and $85 for install. So with all that, it's like $265. But I gotta find out that fuse disconnect, I know it's required to have at every pole that's on for a primary, but if we have our own street lights without the primary, and the pole and wire and everything, we might be able to get away with just one at the start of the street. So if that's the case, it would save a lot of money too.
Yeah,
He also, so George being a consultant, he works on 7.5% is the project cost. So he would come in, he would take care of the bids, he would take care of the nicer rebates, all the legwork, and get us our best costs. And And he was telling me those numbers, you can't even, we've had a couple people come in, the fixture alone would cost more than that. So, it might not hurt to see what he has to offer.
Yeah, yeah.
He does it a lot, he's been up in Buffalo, Tonawanda, Hudson Valley. Cause I asked him if he's allowed to work in New York, if there's any stipulation, he said, oh yeah, so he would come down here and basically work with us to get us the best. And he knows it all too, I mean, when it comes to the Cobra head, that's where I would get stung, because it's like there's so much out there and I don't really know what to go for. So,
And we have 480 of them?
450 something Cobra heads and 100 and maybe 60 black decker poles. And I'd like to pick his brain too about doing our parks. There's no power in there right now. Jake and I were talking about solar Cobra heads. I had one guy come in and he said $6,000 each pole. I said, nope.
Sure.
So maybe we see what he has to offer, if he's getting these great deals. That we don't have to run power into the parks and we can get it lit up and keep the kids from vandalizing.
That'll make a big difference.
So this is, the first step would be, of course, obviously to purchase a system. And then after that, you would come in and take a look at it. And at that point, you would have to then budget and determine what we're going to do. Do we have an idea of who would be able to service these? We've talked about a little bit about intermunicipal agreement, whether it be, I don't know what the school does, they have a lot of lighting all around their buildings. I saw a truck that was putting, the extension that was changing out the stadium lights, so obviously that would be something. But we've also talked about Ontario, they have a bucket truck. Good bucket.
Yep.
And I saw a real cool one. I don't know if you guys saw it for painting. Maybe you saw it. It was the two houses down from
Yeah,
you.
I know.
He had a bucket on his van.
Yeah, it was really fantastic,
Get up
yeah.
second floor, but I don't know if that would be enough to get out to the lights.
Somebody
That
had a
was pretty cool.
bucket
I
truck at
thought,
the church
yeah.
for 4 years.
What?
The church in the village was up there for 4 years, the whole time we were in that parking lot.
Oh, jeez, oh, yeah.
It's all our
Yeah.
mini truck.
Right?
Yeah.
It was there forever.
Yeah.
Every day it was there.
So that's a concern that I have, that we have some kind of agreement, that we know that we can, one, have an electrician available, whether we train our people, come back to school, somebody. I mean, we can certainly do that in terms of training, or whether or not we can have an agreement. I don't know, like Spencer Ford, I don't know about Fairport, because that electric is separate, so I don't know whether we can work with them or not, I don't know, can we? I have no idea.
I hope so. They came down to the Wells board once and disconnected some fuses, shut down part of the, and I dealt correctly because they're a municipal electric corporation, so you're still, I think they kind of straddle the fence. They're still a municipality and a municipal corporation, but I think then they're, I don't know if they're a public service organization or a public authority. I don't think they're an authority. So either way, I think as they are, because we did get them to come down with their bucket truck and their electrician. We had to pull the big fuses one time going the south side of the well fields.
I think we got a lot of options with other municipalities, the school, definitely. I don't think they always rent their lift. So if we did the school, it'd have to be something where we grab Ontario's bucket truck. Worst case scenario, we get a price agreement with LLP. And then very, very last case resort would be RG&E. They'd be very expensive, but
Maybe even a shared service thing with the school that we could look at expanding where, hey, we get a truck that you guys can use, and we don't have to hire an electrician. So if the truck breaks, it's gonna be way cheaper than if the electrician breaks anyway, so, you know, so if we can look at it, it might be, now you don't have to rent a lift all the time, but you don't have to have somebody, I mean, I think to have people trained to do, you know, fuses and things of that nature, but
Yeah, just
getting into
like-
working on live stuff, I'm allergic to it.
It's actually a good idea, like how they shared the cost of the roller, we can share the cost of their bucket truck or lift, and there we go.
Yeah, be a good, and then another shared service check mark somewhere, so maybe it's to come up with something else.
Do you think, Jake, that it would be worthwhile, I mean, all I've seen so far, I've seen what the proposal was. To bring a representative in and sit down with us and have them maybe go through a little bit more detail. I don't know whether you have sat with them or not, whether they want a decision based upon their proposal and therefore our research, or whether we can ask them questions, whether you have any questions to ask them. We haven't done that. All we've had is that package that we signed off on. But we can obviously have a discussion on it because there's no other way around it. We can't discuss it anywhere else but here. And so maybe it would be worth having them come in and sit down and talk to us about it.
Yeah, they'd be more than happy to come in. I don't know if it'd be, I know our rep is, her name, I believe is Chantel Irwin. Yeah, her name was on the packet, so I know she typically works till 5. So I don't know if you're talking about having her come in during the day, or.
No, I don't want to be the only one here, so we have to do this so that it's open. Maybe it's in a workshop, or it's maybe prior to our board meeting or something. She comes in and for 6:30, we sit and talk with her about it, you know?
Okay.
So that we can put it out there, it can be publicized, and people can listen if they want, but it's not part of the regular board meeting.
Okay.
Like a workshop before, work session before. I think that would help. I mean, questions can be asked of them or her if she's knowledgeable about the whole operation. You guys can ask questions if you haven't asked them already, and maybe we can understand it a little bit more. And then we can talk to them in November, because that's when it runs out. I thought I had it down somewhere. Mid-November, I think, is that deadline for 180 days, which they probably wouldn't live by. At least we have an intent then, and we know more. That's something that would sound good, Jake, to maybe pull together with it. Or it is a workshop before, maybe on the 28th. Is the 28th, when do we meet?
26.
28th? October?
Yeah, 26.
26th?
Yeah, I think, I definitely like being able to ask them some questions to get more information, understand it, and I think when they include in here the proposed purchase price, that kind of implies that there's some room too, so, and one of the things I want to do is I'm making a list of the other things that we can try to know ahead of time. I think you brought up good things, you know, the ability to service them, what kind of things could we have in place, and we can kind of research those in the meantime, IMAs, what training, what would a contract be, if we had, go with somebody else, or even if we had a contract for emergency work that we know would be not very cheap, but if, as I envision, doing IMAs and things, Clancy and I talked about it, we had something with Fairport, if we all have a windstorm, obviously they're gonna work their own stuff first. So, we have a contract, but everybody's gonna be busy, could we have some sort of a contract with a place like LLP, that could fix those lights in that kind of circumstance, start stringing wires or getting something up. We've got in here cost of LED conversion. I know you have some great ideas here, and we can talk to other municipalities, especially if we can get with Buffalo or Tonawanda, where we was working not that long ago. I've got in here cost of ownership.
Yeah, with an emergency like that, with a windstorm, okay, the lights went out because a power line went out. Power line is not our responsibility.
No, but I'm saying, like, a windstorm, like an ice storm, we have, poles and
The pole
wires
go
come down.
Or whatever, the wires that are going to them.
Yeah, and there's certain areas where it's gonna be, where there's primaries, correct me if I'm wrong, but where there's primaries or even secondary things going, but there's services going down off of the same pole that there might be a light on. But a lot of it, especially the Shantz track, has poles, a lot of the houses are fed from behind the houses, so the ones along the street are simply street lights.
Right, and I've seen the one, wire goes from one to the next, to the next, to the next, so there's as you were talking, do a fuse in the beginning of the line, which would then cover that whole.
Our street,
Yeah,
the fuse is by my house.
one to the next. All right, so let's see if they'll come in. Let's plan for the 26th, that sounds good? And maybe we can meet ahead of time?
Sounds good.
Sit and talk with them, because November is sort of the time we need to know.
Yeah.
Good.
Anything else? You guys want to bring up, talk about? You guys want to bring up?
The idea with the RG&E purchasing our stuff is good, and I realize it'll save us a lot of money, right? And I know, having been a lineman and all that stuff for many years, there's numerous amounts of contractors out there that can contract on a yearly basis, like Cockamese or Cockamise, or however you say that, or Canby, come and, you sign them up for a year, we got lights that go down in the village, they come and fix them. And I think it would be a good idea to look at a year-by-year contract, or even take bids. And look at something like that, like, rather than have our guys do that. Like Tamby could come and change 3 lights or something, and we pay them and then we charge our G&E or however that would work, but am I off base, or,
I don't know, turning RG&E back, and that's one of the things that Clancy and I were actually talking about earlier today too, is where's that threshold between service and expectations and affordability. If we save, say, $60,000 a year by buying our system, but it costs us $75,000 to maintain it, not a great deal.
yeah.
But if we can work with an IMA with, like, say, Fairport, I think of them because of the electric company, but say we have an IMA with Fairport over at the school. Right now, we call, we've got a Cobra head out, or a big one, or one that's not ours. We send the thing to RG&E, they're over here typically a couple weeks, but we can have 2 weeks. They should have it back up. But where is that? I mean, I think you guys know about the one on Fuller where we had some issue with the long lead time, and we finally got one we were able to get a lot faster. But we had a long lead time on that one. It was out for a while, and I think we all think that it wasn't, acceptable. It's not what our goals are. So, if we work with Fairport and have an IMA, it's going to be kind of hard to say to them, all right, yeah, come over every week and we'll give you a list of lights to fix. But where's that expectation?
How is it now? I mean, do you have that kind of a list? Do you have every week 4 lights that have to be replaced, or, are we just, what documentation do you have in terms of calling in RG&E or calling in any company to fix what's out there? What kind of documentation is there in terms of?
Are you looking for documentation?
Do we need documentation?
Yes. Did I get that point across?
I think you said it 4 times in that 2 sentences. I think he's looking for some
They go in a couple.
I am. I'm looking for numbers.
Well, and I've got a note here,
Justify.
they go in a couple different ways. Sometimes we'll have typically 2 or 3 times a year, we'll have a guy, whether they're on snow watch or whether Sweeper, we did it a few weeks ago, we had one of the guys come in early while lights were still on and go around. You kind of get a few more calls about them, so we went around and made a list of them. And there was about 50 on that list, I think, maybe not quite 50.
Almost 40.
Yeah, maybe about 40, and there was half dozen that were ours, and then the rest were RG&Es. Very often, we load those, we'll do one, like type up a spreadsheet fast, or type up a list like that, send it in one contact we have at RG&E. So I can look up that. A lot of times when onesie twosies are coming in, that's, somebody just calls in, we encourage them to get online and do it, but we always get online and there's a streetlight outage reporting form. People complete that, or we complete it and send it in, so I can check back on my emails too. As much as Joe's chagrin, I don't delete anything, so I'll have every email, every streetlight ever called in that way, going back to the beginning of time too, so. Should be able to come up with a pretty, that's one thing I had, outages and repairs per year. I guessed earlier, I'd love to see where it comes out, but I guessed probably average 2 a week. There's some weeks that we have none, and there's sometimes we might get 4 or 5 in a day where somebody's calling. So I'm gonna see where it kind of comes out. I wanna look at that and see over the past, if I can get a couple of years worth or 3, and look and see how they came out, but I'm guessing all total, we probably got a couple of weeks.
So if they were done on a monthly basis, would that be faster than RG&E currently?
It depends. If it's one near Smith's, yes. The one on the corner that they were fighting that, there was a neutral problem, I think, that they fought for a long time. Or that one that was always kind of dim and goofy, and they finally figured that one out. But really, they're pretty responsive. I mean, we sent them that list in, and you said they were out later on that same week, I think. You saw them out there, or the next week working on it. So I would say, I always tell people when they call up, I'm gonna call it in, but if they don't come back, if it's still out in a week and a half, 2 weeks, give us a holler back and we'll check with them. And I rarely hear back, so.
Also too, if we don't switch to LED, then we don't have a high maintenance.
Well, if we switch to LED, we shouldn't have much of a maintenance at all, except
We'll get 10,
for-
15 years out of those bulbs.
Right.
Yeah,
Can you talk about this, the RG&E's conversion to LED too? That's coming up, right?
Yeah, so actually it happened last month, the tariff came out. They're gonna be going around and changing out all their streetlights to LEDs. So then I asked, well, why don't we just wait and change them out, and then we'll buy it? So she said if we
Well,
did
they'll
that.
charge you for the
Oh,
cost.
yeah. Well, they're gonna charge the municipality $35 a light for a upgrade fee for every light, and then when we buy the system, then they would charge us 100% what that cost was for the fixture and install. So she recommended we do not wait until they change them all. It's gonna cost a lot more.
It's amazing, there's $4.50 per pole that we're charged every month. Doesn't seem like a lot. But if we've been paying $4.50, and there's poles that were put in before I was born that are still out there working, I'm pretty sure we paid for that pole 6 or 8 times. Especially considering how much they were when they first went in. And I'm sure we weren't paying $4.50 a month then either, but it's kind of amazing to me how, it's not, like I said, it's incremental, it doesn't seem like it's a lot, but it's a lot of bills. And just real. Just real quick.
oh, there we go. No,
Told you that. We're still working on a Clean Communities grant program and as I said, we got the benchmark and we did that resolution. We're trying to get the other stuff. There's differences in the way how you can access some of the other programs and things like that code enforcement training. So that's going along. We're still driving for it. I'm not sure exactly if we're gonna be able to get all of them before, the 4 of them done before but that's what we're trying. So,
Is there a timeline?
yeah, it's just before it runs out, right?
First,
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh,
there's
before it
6.
runs out, for the,
The last I heard, there were 6 of the $50,000 things left.
right.
And my hope is everybody's getting bottlenecked at the code enforcement training one, and then I'll flank them and go around and do something
You
else.
were gonna check on the EV, right, the charging station.
Yeah, I actually got, noted that I was gonna buy something this week. So we looked into them a couple weeks ago. A dual charging station typically goes for about $6,000 on sale, starting October 1st. You can get them for $2,900 right now for a level 2 charger. So I kind of gonna discuss with Jake, do we want to take advantage of the sale and buy more? It'd be nice to put at least one in every parking lot, you know, one at the museum, one behind the coach,
Yeah,
and one up in here.
yeah.
I was just at RIT, and they have several of them.
Yeah.
The credit card, you just swipe.
Yep.
Yeah, we might be able to do
Swipe
that.
it. We wouldn't be able to do that?
No, I didn't look into it, but I was told that municipalities can't charge for electric. It's a New York State law. That's what I was told. I didn't dig into it, but
No, unless
that
we're,
field doesn't charge. They had a bunch of them out, so it's more of a community thing.
probably gonna be like an ASCO or
Community
something.
service?
Yeah. So I was kind of talking to the electrician, maybe we can tap in to our 240 and maybe get some panels up on the roof to kind of offset the power. Maybe we can do that.
That's it, yeah.
So let it drop from the sun, and when that runs out, it can go from the arm.
That's not bad.
You took a vote.
Do you call them?
No.
All right. Well, we're working on it, right?
Yeah, we've got to
one.
really look at that RG.
Yeah.
And actually, if we can move forward with the lights, that would be a step, I would think. Isn't that falling or something?
It does, but when we looked at the lights, we were talking about, originally when the guy explained to us, you gotta change a minimum of 10 lights. When you look at the street light conversion closer, it's 50% of your lights. So if you only have 18 in your system, you can't change 9 of them, you have to change 10. We've got, and it's municipal and utility owned. So whatever's within our jurisdiction, so we'd end up having to change, at least 300 something. And the post-op lights don't work, so it's all the overhead ones. So we'd end up having to change about 400 of them, because I'm assuming the post-op ones, they would still count towards your total, but you couldn't convert those and have them count. But they can't really count towards your number of lights.
So, in other words, maybe we'll look at the resolution for solar.
Yes.
That's a little bit easier. I'll
There's
take a
a-
look at that and I'll maybe
Yeah.
write that one up and,
There's
put that one up.
it's solar, unified solar permit, I forwarded that on to Will to take a look at and see.
Yeah.
And he basically said that the solar, it's to streamline the solar process, permitting process, and he goes, and it takes longer than our regular permit now. So it would not help much. But
Anything else? And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
second.
Trustee Alito?
Aye.
Trustee Belkane? Trustee Lauer?
Aye.
Trustee Lancy? Mayor Byers?
Aye.
Motion
809.
passes.
809.
Please save the packets, because we did not, number 1, 2, and 3 will be repeated, and I'm not gonna print them out again. We're conserving paper.
We're conserving paper. You've been with us the last 4 years? Haven't been conserving much paper.
I'm going to, however, take the notice of bidders because the date, November 20th, is wrong, so it has to be returned.
Yes. It will be.
Yeah, that's how the guy from engineers, so he was in
I'd
the
like to,
Thursday the 20th, or Tuesday the 22nd. I'm like, well, I have it down as the 21st, and I came out as the bidders as the 20th. We need a new calendar.